Hey everybody, welcome to another list video. Today we're going to be covering our top 5 favorite non-elite enemies. We did our least favorite a while ago, and then hopefully we don't have any doubles up on our list. That would be awkward if someone was in both our favorite and our non-favorite. However, let's go to number 5, starting with Bryn, which is the Knight of the Outer Void.
I think this might be the only enemy with peril on it,
Oh yeah.
and I kind of like that. It's got a lot going on. So when you draw it, it's not just like, oh, come help me. There's other things to think about.
I still don't understand what that card does.
Yeah, so like when you draw it, you have to choose to put 1 or 2 doom on it, and then when it's in play, you can parlay with it to take the doom and flip it back to a clue.
That's dumb.
Travis is like, he's not happy.
Yeah, all right.
He was on my least favorite enemies list.
Also, speaking of dumb, my number 5 favorite card is the Lumbering Gug. Mostly because, well, there's some things that are neat about it. He has the rule text that actually matters that enemies exhaust when they attack, which is only relevant in, I think, him and maybe a few other edge cases. He hits like a tank. He'll kill anyone pretty quick if he gets some attacks of opportunity off. And he also, look at his art. He's the dumbest guy who's ever existed. Like, you see him in the distance and you're like, this is not really a threat. Then you get up close to him and he punches your head literally into your butt, right? So it's great all around. Travis, who do you have for your number 5?
I have a creature from the Abyss. I like this card a lot because it actually provides some some interaction and variability with the Abyss mechanic, especially in the first half of those standalone expansions.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like this little rat guy. He's like, I'm gonna eat your dreams.
Yeah, you guys recently reran this, right? Reran that one?
Yeah, I played it for fun, kinda. It was hard.
Yeah. Yeah,
We lost.
badly.
Yeah.
He is creepy, too. I like his art. All right, let's go to number 4. Bryn, your number 4 is the Stealthy Byakhee.
I like a lot of these enemies who get conditionally easier if you're willing to jump through the hoop that they have printed on them. In this guy's case, like if you want to try to fight him while he's not exhausted, well, maybe you don't know where he is, and he gets to jump out of a corner and hit you better.
Yeah, I think
But
it's
once you've found him, he's squishy like a small rodent.
I do like his
cockroaches.
design. I think stuff like that's pretty cool. I think most of the
I
Byakees are
I just like
pretty
him. Yeah.
My number 4 is the Poltergeist. I like that, I think there's a lot of flavor powered into this card. Like, for a non-elite enemy, as we were doing this list, Travis said, man, most non-elite enemies are pretty boring. And that's true. Most of them are just stats. I feel like the Poltergeist, however, really fits a lot of story into its card, which I think is pretty cool.
I should have put this guy on my list. If you have the fine clothes, he's like, excuse me, sir, I realized you were so important. I'll just go away now.
Oh, look at this fancy person doing a ritual. And there's nothing funnier than your goon being all ready to fight anything, and they're like, I'm untouchable. And then a ghost comes, and they're like, I need my clue getter, please help me. Maybe that's a bit sadistic of me, but I do enjoy that. Travis, what's your number 4?
I got Shadowhound here. I like this card because it's it's a bit of a hammer and a nail way to deal with the issue of goons not caring about the haunted mechanic at all.
Yeah, definitely.
But it does a pretty good job of caring about it.
Yeah,
making them care about it.
And
I like the way it fits into. It shows up quite a bit in the Circle Undone cycle.
One thing I like in his design is that he's not too hard to kill, but he has that Asphalloth health of 3. So, like, you will have to spend some time fighting him, but you're also like, I could just evade this guy and have him be a problem, like, worry about him later. But then, he actually is very threatening for what his stats provide.
Yep. resolving haunted abilities every turn can suck really badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly can.
Yeah, Bryn and this dog are really good friends.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3 for Bryn is the Abyssal Revenant.
So this guy kind of doesn't look like he's a big deal, but it turns out that his attack actually just says if he attacks you during the kill you.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And he's got Hunter, so he'll chase you around the map. I think like of non-elite enemies, this is probably the one I'm actually most scared of.
Yeah, he's tough. I haven't. It's been a long time since I played him, but as I said, they recently have experienced these guys. So
yeah, he just his attack, like he's instead of doing his normal damage, he just does whatever the strength of the abyss is. The strength of the abyss, for frame of reference, if you haven't played that one, and without trying to spoil too much, is probably going to be somewhere between like 4 and 8 by the time this guy starts to show up.
Ooh.
So he does like lots of damage.
Yeah. I like that he also only does that during the enemy phase. So attacks of opportunity are a lot softer.
Yeah, his attacks of opportunity aren't like just blow you up, so you do get a little bit of wiggle room there.
But it's like he's charging a laser, which is pretty sweet. My number 3 is the Hunting Night God, and this guy's in the core set, and I think he does a lot of work. I also really like the mechanic where you're like, oh, 1 foot, I can evade this guy no problem. But then the negative modifier is doubled, which I think is a really can be a really scary mechanic because now -2 is a -4, and suddenly it becomes a lot harder to beat that. And I just think it's really neat, and it's the idea how he is very hard to evade. He's very good at what he does, which is hunting. Also, thank God he has the hunter keyword. Otherwise, the name Hunting Night God would have been a nightmare to deal with. It'd be like, why no he fight? Why no he hunt? Oh, he hunt. He hunt well.
Man, so how does his ability interact if you have sure gamble?
Double the negative modifier. Well, it turns into a positive modifier, right?
Yeah. I imagine it just
like
stops doing anything.
Modifier, but only the printed one.
Yeah, that's what yeah, that sounds right. All right,
I
Travis.
got Night Air Circle for my number 3. I like this guy because even though he's got like keyword soup on him, he's just investigating the strange goings on. Like he kind of knows what's going on in the lodge for that scenario. That's why he's looking for the guy who has the most clues. He's like, someone here's been mucking around with stuff. I gotta figure out who it is. And it's just like this enemy in particular contributes a lot. I think the sneaking around the Twilight is that one feels like, because this guy's gonna be looking for you, and you can. But he's not like immediately antagonistic.
Yeah, there is a pretty cool story involved on that card, just in its ability. That is really neat.
Yeah, he's just like looking for some guy who's like, hey, a bit suspicious, what's going on? You have the opportunity to like evade him and keep yourself away from him. But if not, he's gonna chunk you, and he's actually he's a pretty beefy enemy, even for an old man.
And so what we're learning is that Travis would rather be in the inner circle as opposed to the outer circle.
Yes.
Because the outer circle's in his bottom 5, inner circle's on his top 5. Travis knows what he wants. Bryn's number... Oh, sorry?
So I read that card, and I immediately thought of, like, what... It's like, hey, this makes sense mechanically. The other guy, I'm like, bleh. So.
Bryn's number 2 is the Avian Thrall.
Yeah, so pretty much everything I said about the stealthy Byakhee also applies to this guy. This guy gets a higher place on the rating here because every single time I've played Dunwich Legacy, I know this guy is coming, except for after the first. Every time after the first, I know he's coming, and I know that means that I need a spell or a firearm to fight something with, and I always forget. And then this guy shows up, and I'm like, oh fuck.
And he's big. He's big if you don't have a spell or a firearm or anything ranged.
Yeah, but this guy's pretty much just like I like the monsters that get easier to fight if you're willing to jump through their hoop. Like this guy, he flies, so he's really hard to hit. But if you have a gun,
I think he's really memorable too. I always will think of this guy as like part of the Dunwich Legacy and one of the scariest things, because if you don't bring one of the aforementioned things, This guy will mess you up, along with the Lupine Thrall. They're both very scary creatures.
They are both very good.
Yeah. My number 2 is the Roach Swarm. I love the cockroaches. I think that the idea of of a shroud of a location, of what that means flavorfully is kind of ubiquitous. Not ubiquitous, a little bit. It's not really like set in stone what it means. These guys kind of give it a little bit of flavor. The fact that cockroaches go where things are dirty or just places you don't want to be. So places with higher shroud, the fact that they're stronger there and they can suddenly be having a difference between 1 and 4 attack is really cool. And then also that it gives you the chance as the player a lot of opportunity to control these guys. So for example, you're thinking, oh, my adjacent location has 1 shroud. Let's just take 1 of attack of opportunity and then go kill these guys, as opposed to this place where I have 4. So there's a lot of fun play you can do with the cockroaches. And I just think they're really neat. I've always liked them, and I think they're really cool.
I got Relentless Dark Young is my number 2. So throughout like every Arkham game, Dark Young are always scary.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like one of the few enemies I think that really is just consistently has the same, or at least similar depictions, and feels the same throughout the variety of Fantasy Flight games that they make. Like, he's only got 2 foot, he's slow, he's trying to emulate he goes after the guy with the lowest foot because that's easy. He regenerates health, and he'll like, if you try to actually fight him, he's really hard to fight. He's got 5 health, 4 punch, and he heals 2 at the end of the round.
Yeah, the healing 2, it's like, say goodbye to your vicious blow. I don't care if you don't kill me immediately.
Yeah, and then he chunks you for 3 damage total. That's a lot. It's a lot.
We rarely play against this card because the only time it's in effect is in the Feast of Urdmordoth one.
Yeah, but one day we'll get our Chevy expansion.
Yeah, same with the Cthulhu ones too. Like, you just don't see them, and I'm excited to actually play with them as more of a thing because this Dark Young is scary. Like, he's insane.
Yeah, he's just like a huge pile of stats. He's just hard to kill.
That 5 health too.
Like, they really... This guy's scary. That's a big flavor connect for me.
Yeah, and the 5 health too. It's very much like, we know that's like super Asphalloth, and then he heals.
Yeah, it's like Asphalloth times 2.
Yeah. Cool. Good job, Mr. Dark Young. All right. Let's go to our number 1s, starting with Bryn, which is the Guardian of the Crystallizer.
Yeah, so, you're just living your life, like drinking your jellyfish egg, and this guy shows up and he's like, you can't just eat my kids, and you're like, he'll never take this jellyfish from me as long as I'm alive. I'm never giving that up.
I understand this especially because this goes back to what I said in the last week's video of the pet cards, how we build stories for our cards and how they sometimes just make something your favorite. And amen. These jellyfish are like, why are you eating our children?
And you're like, have you ever eaten your children? It's like cocaine. It doesn't even feel like you're alive without this.
Why would we eat our children? Do you eat your children? Why would you do that? And then Travis and I, both of our number 1 is the Whippoorwill.
Yeah, Whippoorwill's good. I like him.
I don't think this is the first time we talked about how much we like the Whippoorwill.
No.
The card's just great. Flavorfully, right? Amen. Really easy to deal with, but at the same time, you might just be like, no, I don't want to. And then suddenly there's 2 Whippoorwills screaming at you from the trees, and you're suddenly like, I'm in a very bad place.
You're like, death is coming, you're right.
Yeah, you're playing Preston and you're like, my skills are all negative now.
Yeah.
Good thing the game doesn't see that.
We did some recording today, and I did like when Travis realized, oh, I can't run away from a Whippoorwill. I guess I'll just kill it.
I can't just run away from a bird, huh? That's hard.
But yeah.
These guys are like, they're just like the perfect mix of being like threatening without being, they're threatening in a unique way, instead of just being like, I'm going to put pressure on your sanity and health.
Yeah.
Pressure on everything else you do in the game unless you take the action to deal with me.
And it's one of those things too that when you draw them from the treachery deck, the encounter deck, you're just like, it's not that bad of a draw, and then you're like, oh, they're just really cool. They're really cool because they just are very powerful, and I like that they were reused in a set later on, and I want to see more of that. I want to see them revisiting old cards and using them in new ways, or just as the card is well designed, let's do it again, right?
Yeah, I think the whippoorwills also represent like a player growth. Like if you go back and watch our oldest videos for Dungeon Legacy first came out, we like draw whippoorwill and like this is garbage. I'm gonna keep doing what I was doing. Now we draw whippoorwill. I need well.
Yeah, I need an adult.
Minus one all your stats. That's a lot. I need to kill.
It's kind of a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Travis has said this before, but think about how much you pay for a stat increase, and this guy just shows up and nullifies that by just being there for all of your stats.
Yeah.
And he'll follow
I know
you too.
This guy was on like my least favorite basic enemies, but that's because that list was just the ones that I've ever remembered dying to.
So when Bryn gets killed by the Guardian of the Crystallizer, he's like, get it off my list, I hate him now.
This card is trash.
To the bottom.
But thanks for watching, everybody. Down below in the comments, let us know what your favorite non-elite enemies are, because you know, there are probably going to be some off this list. There's not too many. The only other one that I want to give an honorable mention to is just the basic cultist. He's really good. They do what they need to do. This is going back to the days when we first started, and I would have like 10 things on my list. And now, you know, just doing it again. Thanks for watching, everybody.